Hello everyone, welcome to TCM Diagnostics, presented by Lamp AccuWellness Foundation Inc., featuring visual diagnosis of the Shen spirit. Observation of the Shen is probably one of the most important aspects of diagnosis. Even though observation of the Shen is something many people do without even thinking about it, it is a good idea to be aware of what you are doing and subsequently draw relevant conclusions from what you have observed. We immediately start to form an impression of the patient's Shen from the first point of contact. The state of a person's Shen is critical in determining the prognosis. This is because Shen is formed from Qing, Qi, and Shui. These are the material basis for the more ethereal Shen. For its part, Shen is the exterior manifestation of these substances. This means that the person's Shen will reflect the state of these vital substances and the condition of the body that generates them. If the person is healthy and their yin, yang, qi, jing, shui, and zang fu are strong, they will have a strong Shen. If they are weak, or if xiaxi, pathogenic qi, is virulent and injuring the vital substances, their Shen will be weakened. Shen can be observed in a person's eyes, face, hair, body movements, tongue, and breathing, as well as the way they act, react, and interact with their surroundings. Vitality is a key word here. When there is Shen, there is vitality. If a person radiates a vitality, there will still be a good prognosis, even if their symptoms are serious. Contrarily, if the person lacks this radiance, the prognosis is poor. This is because a lack of Shen is a sign that the vital substances are injured and/or that xiaxi is virulent. If Shen is strong, healthy, and harmonious, there will be a shine and a sparkle to the person's eyes. The eyes will be bright. Conversely, a person's eyes can seem dull and lifeless if their Shen is weak or blocked. If the person's Shen is agitated, their eyes can seem very intense, or they will be restless, their gaze darting around the room. Because Shen manifests in the eyes, a person with a healthy Shen will be able to look you directly in the eye and maintain prolonged eye contact. If the Shen is out of balance, you can have the sensation that even though you are looking them directly in the eyes, there is no contact. They may have difficulty maintaining eye contact because their eyes are darting around in various directions, or they may maintain eye contact but have dull and lifeless eyes. They may give the sensation that there is no one there is no vision coming out through the eyes, or you are not able to create a connection into them. The skin of the face is another place where a person's Shen can be observed. The skin in the face should have a faint glow. The facial skin should also be soft and elastic. It should not be gray, dry, or lifeless. There should be a vitality in the skin. This is not dissimilar to the tongue. Both should appear fresh and have a vibrancy. There should be the same vitality that you see in a live fish, not a fish that has been lying on a fishmonger slab for a few days. As stated earlier, Shen is the external manifestation of the internal organs and the vital substances. This means that a person's body and his muscles can also reflect the quality of his Shen. A strong body with healthy muscle and strong bones will be a sign that there is a strong foundation for Shen. That is, that their Jing and Shui are strong and healthy. A person's movements should be light and agile, and their reflexes sharp. this shows that Shen is able to control the body, that the emperor is in command of his realm. There is a close relationship and cooperation between the heart and the lung. Shen can therefore also be observed in a person's breathing. The respiration should be calm, smooth, and regular, indicating that the Shen is in balance. The concept of the Shen encompasses both the concepts of the soul and the mind in Western terminology. Most people can recall having seen someone in the street or on a bus and instantly recognizing that the person is mentally deranged. Their clothes, hair, and body movements separate them from the crowd. If a person's Shen is in balance, a person will have normal responses and behavior in relation to their surroundings. A person whose Shen is imbalanced will often dress oddly. The clothes may seem strange, unusual, or disharmonious, or just inappropriate for their surroundings or the season. Their hair can be eye-catching and eccentric, and they will act and behave in a way that arouses our attention. However, it is important to remember that even though a person's clothes and behavior may seem odd or different to what most people think of as normal, it may just be something that is the norm within a certain subculture or ethnic group to which the person belongs, or it may be a conscious choice by the person. Spirit or Shen is intended here in two different ways. Firstly, in a general sense, it indicates the vitality of a person. If this is thriving, the person has spirit. The opposite, not having spirit, indicates a state of lack of vitality. The simple questions says, if there is spirit, the person thrives. If there is no spirit, the person dies. In this sense, such vitality or spirit here indicates the attribute of Shen that is often mentioned in the context of diagnosis. Having Shen indicates a sense of vitality and vibrancy, as reflected outwardly in the luster of the eyes, sheen of hair, luster of complexion, and spirit of the tongue and pulse. Lacking Shen indicates the opposite, a state of lack of vitality, and is reflected outwardly in a lack of luster of eyes, hair, and complexion. In this sense, the presence or absence of spirit can be observed in the complexion, the eyes, the state of mind, and the breathing. If the person has spirit, the complexion is healthy and with luster. The face color is clear, the eyes have luster and reveal inner vitality. The mind is clear and the breathing even. If the person has no spirit, the complexion is dull and lacking in luster. The eyes lack luster, show no inner vitality, and are not clear. The mind is unclear and the breathing is labored or shallow. In a second sense, the spirit of a person refers to the mental, emotional, spiritual state of that person. If the spirit is strong, the person has a clear voice that projects outwards well. The eyes and complexion have luster, even if the complexion color may be pathological. The expression is lively, the mind is clear and alert, the person walks with an erect posture, and they have a naturally optimistic, enthusiastic, and mentally strong attitude, even if he or she may have suffered emotional problems in the course of his life. So here we have the eyes of somebody with a strong Shen that is in balance. The eyes are bright and have a sparkle and a radiance. Compared to someone with a weak Shen or imbalanced Shen, the eyes can seem either dull and lifeless or too intense. For eye contact, a person with strong Shen will maintain good eye contact, while a person with a weak Shen or imbalanced Shen will have poor eye contact, and the person has difficulty maintaining eye contact. Their gaze can be too rigid and staring, their eyes can dart around the room, or they may shyly look away because it is too intimidating to maintain eye contact. Facial skin of somebody with a strong Shen has radiance and is soft and supple, while someone with a weak Shen, the skin is dull and lifeless, possibly gray or matte. The hair for somebody with a strong Shen has shine and luster, while one with weak Shen will have hair that is dull and lifeless. The muscles and flesh of somebody with a strong Shen are strong and solid with good muscle tone, while somebody with a weak Shen will have weak and lax body with poor muscle tone. Body movements, agile movements with good reflexes for somebody with strong Shen, while one with weak Shen will have slow, uncertain movements with poor reflexes. Breathing of somebody with strong Shen is calm and smooth, while somebody with a weak Shen, breathing is superficial, irregular, or rapid. Clothes and hair for someone with a strong Shen is normal, harmonious clothing and hair, while one with a weak Shen will have outlandish or odd clothes and hair. Response to the environment. For somebody with strong Shen, he acts and reacts normally with his surroundings. One with a weak Shen, the person is either very apathetic or agitated, reacts inappropriately to his surroundings, saying and doing things that are odd or inappropriate. The Chinese character Shen has many different meanings in Chinese medicine, the main one being, of course, mind and spirit. It should be remembered here that we translate as mind the Shen pertaining to and residing in the heart, whereas we translate as spirit the total of the 5 spiritual aspects, that is, the ethereal soul, Hun, residing in the liver, the corporeal soul, Po, residing in the lungs, the intellect, Yi, residing in the spleen, the willpower, Zhi, residing in the kidneys, and the mind, Shen, itself residing in the heart. The mind and spirit are formed from the prenatal essences of the parents and are nourished by the postnatal essence of food and water taken in by the body. For example, Chapter 32 of the Spiritual Axis says, the mind and spirit result from the transformation of the essence of food and water. Chapter 9 of the Simple Question says, heaven provides human beings with the 5 chi, air, and earth provides human beings with the 5 flavors, food. The air is absorbed through the nose and is stored in the lungs and the heart. It ascends to make the complexion bright and lustrous and the voice sonorous. The food is taken through the mouth and is stored in the stomach and intestines. After the food is digested and absorbed, the food essence is delivered to the 5 in organs and therefore nourishes the chi of the 5 in organs. When the chi of the 5 in organs is in a state of harmony, the body can transform properly, body fluids are produced normally, and the mind and spirit are formed. The essence, chi, and blood are the material foundation of the mind and spirit, and conversely, the mind and spirit are the external manifestations of essence, chi, and blood. Our physical features reflect the state of the mind and spirit, and therefore the state of the mind and spirit can be gauged through the observation of the physical features. As we know, chi is a subtle life force that is manifested simultaneously in the body in all its physiological activities and in the mind and spirit in its emotional and thinking activities. For example, the pathological condition of liver chi stagnation manifests with physical signs such as abdominal distension and simultaneously with emotional signs such as depression or mood swings. Therefore, the mind, spirit, and emotions reflect the state of the internal organs and of qi, blood, and essence, and vice versa, the state of qi, blood, and essence influences the mind, spirit, and emotions. Observation of physical features such as the luster of the complexion and hair, the vitality of the eyes, the tone of voice, the body movement, the pulse, the tongue help us to assess the state of the mind, the vitality of the spirit, and the emotional state. When observing and assessing the spirit of a person, we should examine three separate aspects: the embodiment of the spirit, the vitality of the spirit, the luster of the spirit. The embodiment of the spirit represents the outward physical manifestation of the spirit in the body. If the embodiment of the spirit is strong, a person will have good energy, a strong and solid body build, well-developed muscles, eyes with luster and a lively expression, agile movements, and keen reflexes. The whole body appears to be full of life. If the embodiment of the spirit is weak, a person will have a weak or emaciated body, lack of energy, eyes without luster, a dull complexion, slow movements, unsteady walk, and slow reflexes. The whole body seems to lack vitality. In severe cases, there will also be mental confusion or lethargy, wasting muscles, and a weak body with dull skin. The embodiment of the spirit is the reflection of the spirit in the body. If the embodiment of the spirit is strong, it means that yin, yang, qi, and blood are still abundant, pathogenic factors are not so strong, and there is no severe impairment of the internal organs yet. If the embodiment of the spirit is weak, it shows that pathogenic factors are strong, upright qi is exhausted, and the internal organs are depleted. The vitality of the spirit is its manifestation in the general vitality of a person, that is, the energy radiated by a person that reflects his or her spirit. Observation of the vitality of the spirit is an integral part of the observation of the spirit. If the vitality of the spirit is vibrant, then a person will have a clear mind, high energy, a strong voice, regular breathing, clear thinking, and quick reflexes. If the vitality of the spirit is dull, a person will have low energy, a weak voice, dull expression, lethargy, apathy, and in severe cases, mental confusion. The vitality of the spirit reflects the state of the mind and spirit, in addition to the relative strength of qi and blood of the internal organs and that of pathogenic factors. If the vitality of the spirit of a person is vibrant, qi and blood are abundant. The internal organs are strong, pathogenic factors are weak, and the disease is mild. If the vitality of the spirit is dull, it indicates that qi and blood are deficient, the internal organs weak, pathogenic factors strong, and the disease severe. The chapter Key to the Four Diagnostic Methods of the Golden Mirror of Medicine says, in the beginning of a disease, the state of the spirit is important. The reason is that if the spirit is strong at the beginning of a disease, it means that pathogenic factors cannot defeat the upright qi, as it is still strong. If the spirit is dull, it shows that the upright qi cannot resist pathogenic factors, as it is deficient. The luster of the spirit refers to the luster of the complexion, hair, and eyes. The spirit is reflected in their luster, and observation of them is an essential part of the observation of the spirit. If the luster of the spirit is bright, a person will have a normal, glowing complexion, clear, sparkling eyes, shining hair, a lively expression, and lustrous, supple skin. If the luster of the spirit is dull, a person will have a haggard complexion, withered, lifeless hair, dull eyes, and a listless expression and dry, withered skin. The luster of the spirit reflects the state of the internal organs and the strength of qi and blood. If the luster of the spirit is rich, it indicates that the internal organs are functioning normally and qi and blood are abundant. When diseases occur, they are mild and the prognosis is good. If the luster of the spirit is lacking, it denotes that qi and blood are deficient. The internal organs are weak, pathogenic factors are strong, and the prognosis is poor. The three aspects of the spirit are summarized as follows. The embodiment of the spirit is the outward manifestation of the spirit in the body itself. The vitality of the spirit is the outward manifestation of the spirit as it is reflected in the energy of the person. The luster of the spirit is the outward manifestation of the spirit as it is reflected in the luster of the eyes and complexion. When examining the state of the mind and spirit, there are three basic conditions: strong spirit, weak spirit, false spirit. The signs of a strong spirit are sparkling, clear eyes, a lively expression, a lustrous complexion, a clear and alert mind, keen reflexes, good energy, enthusiasm, normal breathing, a clear ringing voice, and agile body movements. This person will have high spirits, a positive approach to life, a stable personality, strong willpower, a clear sense of direction in life, and a keen intellect. The above signs indicate that the person has a strong and healthy mind and spirit, and whatever problem that person might develop, the prognosis is good. The presence of a strong spirit also means that that person will not suffer from emotional problems, or if these occur, he or she will not be overwhelmed by them. A strong spirit often explains how someone could have a serious disease and yet go on living for a long time. The signs of a weak spirit are listlessness, lack of enthusiasm, dull eyes without sparkle, a complexion without luster, shallow breathing, a weak voice, slow body movements, confused thinking, a tongue without spirit or Shen, and possibly with a heart crack, and a pulse without a wave. The person will suffer from apathy, depression, lack of willpower, confusion about their path in life, and a slow intellect. When the spirit is weak, all the organs are affected. The essence and qi suffer, and whatever disease the person might have, the prognosis is less good than in a person with a strong spirit. A weak spirit also means that that person is more prone to emotional problems, or that he or she will be more easily overwhelmed by them. The condition of false spirit usually appears only during the course of a severe chronic disease. This occurs when a severely ill patient suddenly appears revitalized and in high spirits. This is called false spirit, and it is usually a poor prognostic sign. The key factor in determining that this is a false appearance of the spirit is the suddenness of the improvement. However, if the spirit of a chronically ill patient improves slowly and gradually over several days, that is a good sign. The typical manifestations of the false spirit appear in the course of a severe chronic disease, and they are as follows. The patient suddenly seems to be vigorous with a clear look in the eyes. He or she talks incessantly and wants to meet family members. The appetite improves suddenly, and the complexion suddenly becomes bright red, almost as if the patient were wearing makeup. There is a precise description of the false spirit in the book Chinese Medicine Diagnosis. The false spirit indicates the momentary improvement in energy of a patient during a severe chronic disease. It is not a good sign but an omen of death. The manifestations of the false spirit are as follows. In a patient suffering from a severe chronic disease and previously suffering from a weak spirit, suddenly the energy seems better, the eyes become bright, the patient suddenly talks a lot and wants to meet family members, the voice, previously feeble, suddenly becomes clear and loud, the complexion previously dark suddenly becomes bright red and the appetite suddenly comes back. These manifestations are due to the extreme exhaustion of the essence and qi. In such a circumstance, yin fails to restrain yang, so that yang floats outwards and upwards, causing the false appearance of an improvement. In ancient times, people compared it to the last flicker of a fading oil lamp or the last radiance of the setting sun. It is a dangerous sign indicating the separation of yin and yang. If the manifestations of the false spirit appear, it means that the upright qi is collapsing and yin and yang are about to separate. Such patients often die within a short time. When observing the mental and emotional state of a person, it is important first of all to assess the relative strength of the spirit compared to that of the constitution, both the prenatal and postnatal. The spirit and the constitution are both reflections of the essence and qi of the body. The former in the mental spiritual sphere and the latter in the physical sphere. Because of the close connection between the spirit and the constitution of a person, generally, a strong pre- and postnatal constitution is accompanied by a strong spirit. Conversely, a weak pre- and postnatal constitution is generally accompanied by a weak spirit. However, there may be cases in which there is a divergence between these two aspects. For example, when a person has a strong pre- and postnatal constitution but a weak spirit, or vice versa. A person with a strong spirit and strong constitution will have solid muscles, a lustrous normal complexion, a vigorous expression in shining eyes, a strong body, lustrous hair, agile movement, and keen reflexes. On a mental spiritual level, this person will have high spirits, a positive approach to life, a stable personality, strong willpower, a clear sense of direction in life, and a keen intellect. The above physical and mental characteristics indicate both a good constitution and a strong spirit. The internal organs of such a person are strong and function normally. Qi and blood are abundant, and the mind and spirit are healthy. The body will not be easily invaded by pathogenic factors. Even if diseases occur, they can be easily cured. Chapter 19 of the Simple Question says, if the upright qi and the body build of a patient are both strong, any disease will be easy to treat. If the complexion is lustrous and bright, the patient will recover soon. If the body build and the upright qi are both strong, the patient will survive. A person with a weak spirit and a weak constitution will be listless, with an emaciated body build, a haggard complexion, dull eyes, withered hair, a feeble voice. From a mental emotional point of view, he or she will suffer from apathy, depression, lack of willpower, a confusion about their path in life, and a slow intellect. These indicate that the patient has both a weak spirit and a weak constitution, and there will be a deficiency of yin, yang, qi, or blood. Any illness that such a person suffers from will tend to be a long-lasting and chronic, and the body will be easily invaded by external pathogenic factors. The weak spirit will also hamper an improvement in the physical condition. A simultaneous weakness of both the spirit and the constitution generally indicates a poor prognosis. A person with a weak spirit and a strong constitution will have solid muscles, a strong body, lustrous hair, agile movement, and keen reflexes, large bones, a brisk walk, but dull eyes without sparkle, a haggard complexion without luster, and a weak voice. From a mental emotional point of view, this person will tend to suffer from apathy, depression, lack of willpower, a confusion about their path in life, and a slow intellect. The combination of a weak spirit and a strong constitution is usually seen in patients who are born with a strong prenatal constitution but whose mind and spirit are affected by life events. Although the treatment of such patients is more difficult than it would be if they had a strong spirit, their strong constitution means that the prognosis is still relatively good and that the mind and spirit can recover their balance. Chapter 19 of the Simple Question says, if the body build is strong and the upright chi and mind weak, the disease is difficult to treat. If the complexion is dark without luster, the disease is difficult to cure. A person with a strong spirit and a weak constitution will suffer from chronic diseases and will have an emaciated body build, listlessness, a haggard complexion, dull eyes, withered hair, a feeble voice, coarse breath, but a clear, loud voice and eyes with luster. From the mental emotional point of view, the patient will have high spirits, a positive approach to life, a stable personality, strong willpower, a clear sense of direction in their life, and a keen intellect. The combination of a weak constitution and a strong spirit may seem contrary to the fundamental tenet of Chinese medicine that sees the body and the mind as an integrated whole. In fact, in general, a weak pre- and postnatal constitution will be accompanied by a weak spirit. However, there are exceptions to this, as some people seem to be able to maintain a strong spirit despite a poor constitution. The prognosis in this case is better than in the previous case because the strong spirit, helped by treatment, is able to harness the healing powers of the body. The emotional state of the patient is gauged primarily from observation of the eyes, the complexion, and the tongue. The observation of these features must of course be closely integrated with the interrogation, listening to the voice, and palpation of the pulse. Observation of the eyes to gauge the emotional state of the patient is based primarily on observation of the luster and control of the eyes. Luster of the eyes refers to the brilliance, sparkle, glitter, and vitality of the normal eye. Eyes with luster indicate a normal state of the mind and spirit, and generally speaking, the absence of serious emotional problems. Eyes without luster are dull, lack vitality and sparkle, and look as if they were covered by a mist. This always indicates emotional problems of some nature. The extent to which the eyes lack luster is directly related to the duration and intensity of the emotional problems. That is, the duller the eyes, the deeper and more long-standing are the emotional problems. The luster of the eyes is the most important and reliable sign of the state of the mind, or Shen, and of the emotional state. After the patient sits down for the consultation, we observe the eyes to see if they have luster or not. If the eyes lack luster, it indicates that the patient is suffering from emotional problems. The less the luster, the more long-standing the emotional problems. Control of the eyes refers to the gaze and movement of the eyes. If a person is able to fix their gaze and the eyes do not move, but neither are they too fixed, they have control. If a person has a shifty gaze, if the eyes move too much, or if they are fixed in a stare, they are uncontrolled. Eyes without control indicate a relatively serious disturbance of the mind and spirit. A complexion with luster is bright, moist, and shining, while a lusterless complexion is dark, dull, and somewhat dry. It is important to note that the luster of the complexion is a diagnostic feature separate from the color of the complexion. For example, an abnormal yellow complexion could be with or without luster. A complexion with luster indicates that the mind and spirit are relatively unaffected by emotional problems, while a complexion without luster indicates the presence of emotional problems. Similarly, as for the eyes, the lack of luster of a complexion is directly related to the intensity and duration of emotional problems. The duller the complexion, the deeper and more long-standing the emotional problems. One of the main features to look for in the tongue to determine whether the patient is affected by emotional problems or not is the presence or absence of a heart crack. A heart crack on the tongue is relatively narrow, and it extends throughout the whole length of the tongue to the border of the tip. Such a crack indicates the tendency to emotional problems, and the deeper the crack, the more intense the emotional problems. A second pathological sign to look for on the tongue in emotional problems is a red tip. Emotional stress generally leads to chi stagnation, and with time, this leads to some heat. As all emotions affect the heart, emotional stress frequently manifests with a red tip of the tongue, which reflects a certain degree of heart heat. The redder the tip, the more intense the emotional problems, and a swelling and red points on the tip indicate an even more severe emotional problem. The observations of these three features, eyes, complexion, and tongue, should be closely integrated, and each sign should be checked against those of the other two features to give us an idea of the intensity and duration of the emotional problems. In terms of time scale, when a person is subject to emotional stress, the eyes and their luster will be the first feature to change, the complexion the second, and the tongue the last, although this is just a general rule and there may be variations in practice. Therefore, for example, if the eyes lack luster but the complexion has luster and the tip of the tongue is not red, it indicates that the emotional problems are of a relatively short duration. If, on the contrary, the eyes and complexion lack luster, and the tongue has a red tip and a deep heart crack, it indicates that the emotional problems suffered by the patient are very deep and long-standing. When diagnosing the emotional state of the patient, interrogation and observation must also be integrated with palpation of the pulse. In terms of the time scale, the pulse will actually be the first to change. To summarize, therefore, the time scale of the changes observed in emotional problems is as follows. 1. Pulse. 2. Eyes. 3. Complexion. 4. Tongue. Inspection of spirit means to observe whether the patient's mental state is normal, whether the consciousness is clear, the movements harmonious, and whether reactions are timid, in order to determine whether there is a state of excess or deficiency in the zang organs, yin, yang, qi, and blood, and the prognosis of disease. Shen, or spirit, is the general manifestation of the vital activities of the human body, and the outward sign of the relative strength of qi and blood of the zang organs. The vital activities are divided into two meanings. Broad sense describes the total external manifestations of the life activities of the human body, which are the reflections of zang organ functions. This may be thought of as general vitality and can be seen in the pulse, tongue, complexion. Narrow sense describes mental activities, including consciousness and cognition. The divine pivot states, the combination of two kinds of essences, essence or jing of the father and mother, forms the spirit. Spirit is the essence of qi and fluids. This means that spirit is formed from a combination of two kinds of congenital essences. Afterwards, spirit is supported and enriched by acquired essence. Spirit dominates the entire body's activity. It can be seen in various manifestations, such as facial expression, eye movement, mental state, physical activity and reactivity, voice, tongue, and pulse. Essence is the original substance or source of human life. It makes up the human body. Essence is composed of congenital essence, which is inherited from the parents, and acquired essence, which is produced from food by the stomach and spleen. Qi denotes the essential substances of the human body, which maintain its vital activities. It also denotes the functional activities of the zang organs and other tissues. Essence, qi, and spirit are called the three treasures. Essence is the source of life. Qi is the force of life. And spirit is the controller and manifestation of life. They work as a single whole, physically and functionally, and are inseparable. The covetous of parental essences produces life. Then the mental and physical activities, the spirit, manifest. After spirit is formed, it is enriched and nourished by qi and blood, and in turn generates and supplies acquired essence. In general, essence is the source of life. One has the essence first and then spirit. Qi and blood maintain life, and spirit is the manifestation of life. Qi, blood, and essence are the material basis of spirit. When there is sufficient qi, blood, or essence, the person will have spirit. If there is insufficient qi, blood, or essence, the person will lack or lose spirit. Normal spirit refers to being full of vigor, which is reflected in sufficiency of both essence and qi. Normal spirit gives one bright and vivid eyes, clear consciousness and speech, quick responses, resonant voice, radiant complexion with natural expressions, and a freely movable and flexible body. Observation of spirit plays an important role in TCM diagnosis. It can help the practitioner understand the condition of the essence and qi, the state of the pathological changes, the transformation of the illness, the prognosis. In order to observe spirit, attention should be placed on the patient's facial expression, mental state, physical activity, language, breathing reactivity. Special emphasis should be put on eye movement because of the following. The eye is regarded as the window of the liver. The eye is the messenger of the heart. All the essence and qi of the 5 zang and 6 fu organs rise and pour into the eyes. Clinically, spirit can be manifested as having spirit, fatigue spirit, and lack of spirit, which can be further divided into subcategories based on the severity of the lack of spirit. These categories include loss of spirit, false spirit, and spirit disturbance. Having spirit is defined as the normal physiological state when the patient is full of vigor, reflected in a sufficiency of both essence and qi. Patient is alert with bright and vivid eyes, clear consciousness and speech, quick responses, resonant voice, radiant complexion with natural expressions, and a freely movable and flexible body. Indication: patient's essence has not been exhausted, and condition of zangful organs has not fallen into severe disorder, even though there may be illness. Clinical significance: illness is not serious and prognosis is favorable. Fatigued spirit is defined as a mild manifestation of lacking spirit. Fatigued spirit and lacking spirit differ only in degree of severity. Fatigued spirit is between having spirit and lacking spirit. Manifestation: listlessness, lassitude, poor memory, weak and low voice, aversion to speaking, fatigue, slow and awkward actions. The main symptom of fatigued spirit is poor memory. Indication: deficiency pattern, usually caused by heart and spleen deficiency or kidney yang deficiency. Clinical significance: allows one to judge whether the state of qi is in a state of excess or deficiency. Lack of spirit is a pathological state wherein deficiencies or disturbances undermine the calm or fullness of the spirit, which manifests in any of the following three presentations: loss of spirit, false spirit, spirit disturbance. Loss of spirit reflects an exhaustion of the essence, deficiency of qi, and weakness of vitality. Patient has dull eyes, slow and awkward action, blurred vision, dull complexion and facial expression, heaviness of the body, obtuse actions and responses, mental confusion or even unconsciousness, delirium and hallucinations. Indication: patient's qi has been exhausted, essence has declined, functional activities are insufficient, and the disease is severe. Clinical significance: the disease is severe and the prognosis is unfavorable. False spirit is an apparent indication of improvement in which the patient suddenly improves during the terminal stage when the patient's essence and qi are extremely debilitated because of chronic disease or serious illness. The sudden appearance of apparent health is a transitory state that precedes death of the patient. The extremely weak patient in a critical condition is listless, unconscious with dull eyes, has a dislike of speaking, low and feeble voice, dull complexion, and anorexia. Yet the patient suddenly feels better, has clear consciousness, bright eyes, louder voice, flushed cheeks, and improved appetite. False spirit indicates exhaustion of anti-pathogenic qi and impending failure of yin and yang, in which yin fails to restrain yang and the yang is separating from the yin. Clinical significance: imminent death. The spirit disturbance is also a manifestation of lack of spirit, but the pathogenesis is totally different from the type caused by essence, blood, or anti-pathogenic qi exhaustion. Spirit disturbance means that consciousness is obscured or lost. This condition is usually found in one of the following patterns. These patterns are caused by unique etiologies and pathogenesis. Although these patterns are manifestations of lack of spirit, they are not necessarily critical conditions. Symptoms: irritability, restlessness, hot and heavy sensations in the chest. Feverish sensation and irritability causes the patient to prefer nudity and even drives the patient to jump into water. Pathogenesis: pathogenic heat in the heart, lung, or kidney. Restless organ disorder. Symptoms: mental depression, possible hallucinations, disorientation, frequent attacks of melancholy and crying spells, frequent bouts of yawning, no loss of consciousness. Pathogenesis: heart and liver blood deficiency. Hysteria. Symptoms: chronic depression, apathy with aversion to speaking, mumbling to oneself, insomnia, anorexia, sleepwalking. Pathogenesis: heart and lung in deficiency. In madness: chronic depression, aversion to speaking or mumbling to oneself, laughing or crying inappropriately. Pathogenesis: stagnant phlegm misting the heart orifices or spleen and heart deficiency. Yang madness: raving with obscenities, madness and restlessness, singing loudly and favoring high places, wandering naked, hitting people or destroying things. Pathogenesis: phlegm, fire, disturbs the mind. Epilepsy. Symptoms: sudden syncope with drooling saliva and spasms of the limbs. There is a short blackout or period of confused memory, odd changes in the way things look, sound, smell, or feel. After the symptoms pass, the patient manifests no abnormality. Pathogenesis: liver wind with phlegm or phlegm fire disturbing the heart. We have here a table showing the comparison of having spirit, loss of spirit, and false spirit. Having spirit will have bright hues and moist sheen, alertness, vivid colors, twinkling eyes, clear speech and consciousness, agile responses, freely movable, quick responses, respiration is even, the diet is good. Loss of spirit: complexion will have dim hues and dull sheen. The eyes will have dull colors with blurred vision. Mental status: unconsciousness or delirium. Slow movements and responses. Respiration will be rapid, feeble, or with difficulty. Diet is poor. False spirit: complexion: dull sheen with sudden flushed cheeks. Eyes: dull colors, but suddenly lustrous. Unclear consciousness with a sudden change for the better. Suddenly responsive. Respiration is feeble, but suddenly strengthening. Diet is poor, but suddenly improving. Now let's have the summary of clinical manifestation of spirit. Having spirit indicates sufficient essence, mild illness, and good prognosis. Fatigued spirit indicates a deficiency syndrome, usually caused by heart and spleen or kidney yang deficiency. Lack of spirit, we have loss of spirit, false spirit, spirit disturbance. Loss of spirit indicates exhausted essence, severe illness, and poor prognosis. False spirit is a pseudo-phenomenon, indicates crisis stage. Spirit disturbance, psychological and emotional disorders due to various etiologies and pathologies. Thank you very much for your attention. See you in our next videos.